What up, good peoples? It's your boy, Brownlee for real, and we back with another episode. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share, and feel free to engage in the rest of our platforms, which is Amazon Music and Spotify. We back, baby. But this time we back with a very, very, very interesting episode. This episode is about going all the way back to the Holy Land, back to my land, which is Israel. And I have a very special guest that is going to join us today. And he's going to give us all the advice we need on how do we move forward. I let everybody know if you have any questions, if you have any advice, you just let me know, because we tapped in and we're ready to basically do this thing. So I want to present the proud Hebrew, the human rights advocate, and the public speaker, Ashriel Moore. Priest, are you there?
I'm in there, my brother.
Hey, how you doing today, my brother?
Oh, I'm doing excellent, big man. How you feeling?
You know I can't call it. I might spoil it. It's
good. I appreciate you calling me on the platform. So we can be able to share some of this very important information with our people, my brother, and to all your listening audience. Because I think this topic is a heavy one. It's super important for us to shine some light on it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's been a long time coming. I've been trying to get you on the show for a long time, and I want you to know how much you mean to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I follow you. I listen to you. I think you're a very, very smart and intelligent brother. And I think we can all learn from you. And, not just learn from you, but, we can follow in your footprints, because I feel like you the one. And I don't say that just to say it in vain. I feel like you put in the work. And you can hear it through your dialogue. I mean, it's, Ash, man, you done leveled up in a way where I feel like, nobody can touch you. And that's not a bad thing. I feel like we got to work hard to the point where it's a blessing to have you in our presence.
Man, look, I wouldn't say I'm the one, but I would say that our parents put in a lot of work before us, bro. They did a lot of things to bring us to the point that we are now. And so if we are to level up and take this to another level, then it's our responsibility to make sure that we are as sharp as possible, because however we want to take this from the point that we're at right now is going to demand for us to be able to know how to navigate this shit. And it doesn't come with a lot of challenges, and most people that you are challenged by, most times they're people who are pretty much as intelligent as you are, or probably a little more intelligent than you are. And so if you come into a room and you're not capable of dealing, then you automatically at a disadvantage, and being at a disadvantage automatically puts you at a point where most likely you won't even be able to deliver. And so I just try to put in, the kind of work that I know is necessary for us to be able to be in these rooms and to have a headway in these spaces to allow us to be able to bring what we need to bring, and not be embarrassed, because when you look at the leaders that we had, they weren't embarrassing. You know what I mean? Even our parents, I mean, they came and they brought, the pieces to the puzzle that they brought, and they did it in a manner which I would say it was finessing a lot of other people who thought that they had us, but they realized that we was a little more intelligent than what they actually thought. And that comes from not only sitting down and reading books, but that comes from, gaining that street knowledge. That comes from having those type of discussions with people, who you can learn from. That comes from me sitting down and talking to, great people like the Honorable Ben Ami and the Nasi Ashriel, and, a whole lot of great brothers like that, and my father and my mother, you know what I mean, who I know put in the work. So when you're looking to deliver on something, you got to go to those people who did it before you. And so that you can depend on a lot of the advice that you get from them to take it on to the next level. And so it's our responsibility in our generation to bring something to the table, bro. I mean, we can't keep on depending on or leaning on, what our parents delivered. We, at one point or another, we got to bring something to the table as well. So I just try to, give my part to this building process. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So basically, we don't only get the folks from the Holy Land watching. We also got some viewers from the USA. And I think it's important that we update them about what this episode is about and what's taking place in the Holy Land right now. You know what I'm saying? What is the issue? What are we fighting for? And who we fighting for? And who in the fight at this point?
I don't know how much the audience that we have know about the community here in Israel, not just about the community here in Israel, but about Hebrews in general. So it's important for us to kind of lay the foundation first and then jump into the crux of the conversation, because the people who returned back to Israel in the 1960s, 1968, 1969, these were people who were actually repatriating back to our original homeland, right? This is our ancestral homeland before we were taken into America as slaves in 1442 by the Portuguese, before we knew anything about slavery in America, before we knew anything about the Arab or the Islamic slavery. We migrated to these places, leaving our ancestral homeland in 721 BC, when we were kicked out by the Assyrians, and in 586 BC, we were kicked out by the Babylonians, and then in 70 AD, we were kicked out by the Romans, and then even throughout that procedure, throughout that period, it was times we migrated to different places in North Africa, and then migrated into, or up the Nile River, down into the area of Ethiopia and Uganda and those areas, and then migrated into sub-Saharan Africa, and then arrived at, on the west coast of Africa. And so we were taken from there as slaves and taken to America. And so all we did is that we just came back home, So anybody who's saying that Israel is not our ancestral homeland, either they are not familiar and don't know history, or they do know history and they're purposely trying to mislead people with the understanding of who we are and what our identity is. And so it's really a fight to prevent us from being able to have our roots once again planted in the homeland. And it didn't start now. It didn't start today. It didn't start this year. This is something that's been going on ever since we arrived in Israel. They never wanted us here in Israel, but because we fought so hard against the powers that be, then we made it through, and we came back to serve the God of Israel. So, serving the God of Israel, we know even through the biblical text, when you look at them, you know what the children of Israel had to go through. They had to go through fighting with Pharaoh. What they had to go through by getting thrown into the fiery furnace because they would not allow nobody to change who they are.
Right.
We know what happened to Joseph. We know what happened to all of the other prophets of Israel and the children of Israel during, our migration throughout the period of time and in different places that we were. So this is just a continuation of that. This is not nothing new, but it is at this point, it's another challenge that we have to deal with, because it allows us now to show that we actually believe in what we have been taught and who we are and our identity, and we stand firm on that. It's an attempt to cause us now to kind of neglect who we are and to cause us to adopt someone else's identity by claiming that we are not part of the house of Israel, and we are not from the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and we are imposters, and we infiltrated the land, and all of this nonsense, which obviously they know is nonsense, but it's just a tactic that they use in order to plant seeds in the heads of people, in the minds of people in regards to our community, so that they can delegitimize us. And then once they delegitimize us, then they could be able to continue with their diabolical plan, which is actually to make sure that Israel is actually clean from black people. They don't want black people here in Israel. And so we're the only community now that is actually fighting back, right? We're pushing back against a lot of what they tried to force on us. And they just don't like that, because they expected our generation to be one of the generations to kind of drop the ball. And so they see that we're not dropping the ball, so it's kind of problematic for them now, like, ooh, we thought we had them. We thought we had them with the dress. We thought we had them with this. We thought we had them with the girls. We thought we had them with this. And we see that they're actually standing firm on their identity now. Yeah, people are going through the processes and procedures and the journeys of their own to find themselves in this process or whatever, which is absolutely okay because everybody have to go through those things.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we still hold tight to the fundamental principles that we were raised on, right? Those fundamental principles of brotherhood and familyhood. Wherever you go in the world, we are trying to link up with our people back from home. You trying to get some of that food from back home. You trying to talk to the people from back home. You want to be, in the holy day sessions from back home. You want to keep a tight hold on those principles, on those holy days, on those customs and traditions that we hold so near and dear to us. And so now that they see that this generation is actually continuing on with that legacy, that becomes problematic. And because it's so problematic to them and for them, when you get up on a high horse and for some reason you're not able to break the people down who you expected it should be easy to break down, then you have to pull out your big guns. And when you pull out your big guns, then we have to pull out our big guns. Our big guns is our God. We don't have no tanks. We don't have no weapons. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have political clout. We don't have none of the things that you would expect for people to have in order to be able to fight this type of fight. But the only thing that we are holding on to is our belief, our full belief that we didn't come all the way to Israel to get kicked out of the land once again by people who just who refuse to accept who we are. And we're not even asking them to accept who we are. We just saying, let us live in peace. We're not bothering you. We're actually contributing more to the society than what we're getting. But just let us live in peace. And that's something, that they just, they're having a hard time with. And so that's where the fight is at the moment.
I don't mean to cut you off, Breeze, but, I know we started off, with having our own little circle. And if I'm not mistaken, the spiritual leader, Ben Ami, he had mentioned at the beginning that it's important that, we stay to ourselves and not mingle with the Jews in the Holy Land, right? For the same reason that's what's happening right now. So basically, if I'm not mistaken, correct me, it was a time where before we opened up our school, Agva, we had Big Dusha. And excuse me if I'm mistaken, I don't know if it was a vote where the people had to vote, do we open up Agva and mingle with the Jews as far as going into the system, or do we stay with Big Dusha? And if I'm not mistaken, the spiritual leader, he mentioned that he don't advise that. So I'm guessing, the decision came from the people. And basically I'm seeing we starting to see the sad effect from that when it comes to basically fighting for our status. And my question is, why do we continue to fight and ask for things that they don't want to give us? And if that's the problem, how do we proceed? And can we proceed without them? Because I know we can't just, throw up our hands and say, okay, F them, we're going to still live in the Holy Land when there's important things we got to have, especially people with no status. Like, we can't just say, okay, they don't want to work with us. So forget them. That's not going to solve the problem, right? Correct? If I'm not mistaken, right? That's not the solution, right? We have to find a way to work together regardless of our differences and what we feel about the Jews. But what was stated that Ben Ami, he wasn't really with opening the school Agva. He wanted to stay with Big Dusha, but he also had to listen to the people and hear them out. And I guess they basically put in their vote and he had to go with it. Sadly to say, Ben Ami passed on. And we have another leader now. He's not our spiritual leader, but he's the leader. And, you got a couple of people that, they not with it. So if the spiritual leader allowed the people to make decisions, who made the decisions for, if I'm not mistaken, Nasik Emmanuel, to lead us? Because I feel like this podcast is about bringing everybody together where we can understand what is going on and not have any animosity, and understand that if Nasik Emmanuel is the leader now, it's because he was our right-hand man. He was the closest to Abba. He's very knowledgeable in regards to what people feel about him. He's going to lead us from now on. Not only that, a lot of people got questions about you. How did you become, who you are, I'm guessing he also gave you his blessing to educate the world. So just break that down to us so people can understand what's going on with the leadership, because it's all about leadership. Without the leadership, most likely we're going to crash.
You asked so many questions in one, and so I'm gonna just take them apart and just deal with each one of them. The first one, in regards to the institutions, it's important to understand that we don't live on an island, right? And it's nice to say that we just gonna do our own thing and we don't need nobody, and we live in a world where we came to build our own world, and all of that is fine and well, and that's correct, right? But building the world means that we're establishing for ourselves the type of environment that we want to live in, the type of environment that is compatible for how we see ourselves. And so it starts, first of all, with development. It starts with a house, and then it develops into a community, and then from a community, it develops then into a society, and then from a society, it develops into the world, and then from the world, it develops then into something bigger than that. And so the processes that we have to go on a journey. Is not just a one-stop shop, and then we finish. And so, but the institutions that we establish for ourselves internally were institutions that we were forced to establish for ourselves because we understood that we had to only depend on ourselves, right? Now, we did want to, because we part and parcel of Israel. We didn't come back to Israel just to kind of be a small little group just isolated somewhere in the South that don't nobody know about and nobody being bothered with. It was the reason why we had members of the community that were all over the world preaching the word about the community so that people can know of our existence here. Because we came here to establish, the long-awaited kingdom of Yah on earth, as our leader Ben Ami said. But people don't understand what that means, because most people are looking at it from like a Christian religious perspective, and then in their minds it's like the established long-awaited kingdom of Yah means that we're going to kind of establish a tabernacle, and then all of a sudden somebody's going to come out of the sky, riding on some deers or whatever, and then sit on the throne, and then that's just the kingdom of Yah. That's not how that works.